Good morning. Good morning, people of God. Um, I hope everyone rested well. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday to you. Happy Thursday to you. Happy Thursday. Listen, I want to share something. This morning, I went back and I took a closer look at the spirit of Haman. I went back to the book of Esther and I just wanted to examine the spirit of Haman a bit further and just to, you know, take a closer look at all that was in his spirit. And what I found is that Haman was full of pride. He had a spirit of manipulation. Um, and he loved power. He loved power and the amount of money he made because he was bragging to his family about how much money, all the money he made, and he's second in command and all of that. And he also did not have wise counsel. He didn't marry a woman who was full of wisdom. You know, he married a woman whose heart was just as treacherous as his, and you'll see that as you study it for yourself. But going back to Esther chapter 3. And I'm just going to break this down a little bit just from my studies. I'm just going to give a run over it of how I examine the spirit of Haman. When I went back to Esther chapter 3, where he originally got promoted to the highest level in the king's government, he became furious because everybody was supposed to bow down to him and honor him, right? Well, after he got that promotion and he went past Mordecai, Mordecai didn't bow down to him, and that made him very, very angry. And so the king's servants, they went over and talked with Mordecai about it, and Mordecai said he wasn't bowing down, he was a Jew. And so I guess they didn't know much about the Jew custom, and so they went back and told Haman, he said he's a Jew, he's not bowing down, is that okay? And so Haman was furious. And so when he found out Mordecai was a Jew, him being second in command, now he'd already earned the highest place of honor in the king. He making good money, doing good, but he's so furious that this one man won't bow down to him. Rather than making himself, because he had all that power, humbling himself, because I always believe he that is greatest among you, right, shall be a servant. But then we live in a world today when people receive more worldly power and earthly money, that they just esteem themselves above others. They feel like people should be running to them, putting your nose up their butt, their funky behinds, right? But everybody ain't like that. So anyway, he sat and he thought about this thing. How could he hurt Mordecai? Because Mordecai wouldn't bow to him. And for months he pondered over what he could do. Then he finally went to the king with his own manipulative self. And he told the king, there's a people who's just rebellious. They don't listen to our commands and they need to be separated from us. They need to be destroyed. So he wasn't honest with the king. He wasn't forthcoming. Because had he said, there's a man, Mordecai, he gets under my skin, he does not bow to me, I do not like him, and I want to destroy him. The king seemed like he got some righteousness in him because he found righteousness in Esther, He married Esther. But, had he said that to the king may not have, the king probably would have called Mordecai, so let's call him up. And he would have had an opportunity to hear Mordecai. But Haman went to him and told him there was a people. He didn't even say the Jews, right? He said there's a people who are rebellious, who go against our commands. They don't listen. We need to destroy them. Anyway, so because he was the king's right-hand man, king signed, put his ring signature on it and signed the law. Oh, that made Haman happy now because he came up with the law and he sent out letters where every Jew should be destroyed. They should be killed. perish, demolish off of the face of the earth, all of them, the older and the younger, the children, the babies. He had no mercy. That right there was what was in his heart being exposed. So as I studied the spirit, I said, So after he obtained power, after he was promoted, what was on the inside of his heart was exposed. If he had a loving heart, then that power, that position of power he was promoted to, that just would have, his power would have expanded his love because he would have acted differently. But he had a treacherous heart. He had no mercy. What type of man would destroy people he don't even know? Even innocent children, no mercy, want them dead. Because one man he know of that same faith won't bow to him. You see? So you see this happening daily. Because people of God, let me tell you something. Whatever's on the inside of a person, money, positions of power, it only causes it to be revealed. It causes it to be, exposed. If you are a wicked person and you broke and you wicked, well, you ain't got that much resources to operate in your wickedness. You operate behind the scene in low level stuff. If you are a wicked person and you come into riches and wealth, all that's going to do is give you greater access to be wicked. You will devise crafty plans in your mind. There could be somebody you don't like how they move. You will use your money to go behind the scenes because it's nothing for you to pay over here and do this over here and do this over there while you're sitting back like a snake that you are. Not saying you people of God, but you get what I'm saying. The person that would do something like that with a spirit of Haman, while they just sit back and they're just waiting for this person's demise because they feel like their money gives them access to the type of power they need to destroy. See, so if we obtain the riches of the earth, it only reveals what's on the inside of us. If we obtain positions of power, it only reveals what's on the inside of us. So when you see a lot of wicked things going on, you see that's because wicked people are in leadership positions. When the righteous rule, the Bible even tells us the people rejoice. Nobody don't care. People don't care when wicked people fall. They're actually they rejoice when wicked people fall. They love when they mourn. When wicked people are in leadership. It causes a lot of grief. It causes a lot of chaos because wicked folk have no mercy, and that's how we see here with this spirit of Haman. So as I examine this, I see when he put that order together for all of them folk to be killed just because he didn't want more, he was so angry at Mordecai bowing down to him. And I got respect for Mordecai because the world we live in, when people are easy to be influenced, and a lot of people won't like you when you got your own mind, when you're a free thinker. And when you see a lot of people are followers, when they see 1 million people over here doing this, and you're the only one that's different, you stick out like a sore thumb, well, majority of people will cave into that pressure and be like, oh, let me run over there and blend in with 1 million people. Strong-minded person be like, nah, I'm in my own lane, But Mordecai, he didn't bow like everybody else. Not only that, so after that order was issued, it grieved Mordecai. He tore his clothes and he was just grieved. And then the king had already asked the queen what did she want. She'd give him half of the kingdom, right? And so the queen told the king that she wanted to have a dinner. And so he told him to let Haman know, right? Have Haman come. And Haman was happy about that. He was happy about he got invited to the dinner. Now, he didn't know he was going to be exposed at this dinner. He didn't know that Esther was Mordecai's niece. He didn't know that Esther was also a Jew. He didn't know, but he done craft up his little plan. And then when he went home bragging, you know, that he got invited to the dinner. He's second in command. He make all this money. And when he was on his way to go home, he passed by Mordecai, and Mordecai still ignored him. Even after he had issued that decree, he had had that lawsuit out. See, after he'd issued that decree, he didn't know that Mordecai was related to Esther. And so when he passed by Mordecai after getting invited to the dinner, it made him oblivious. It made him furious that Mordecai just looked at him and ignored him. He didn't bow to him. And not only that, when you bow to another man or another woman, that is a form of idolatry. That's a form of idolatry. Bowing down to another man, another woman, you know? And there's some people, when they're in certain positions, they want to look at you and see the fear. They want to see fear in your eyes. And when they don't see that, sometimes folk look at you and they see strength. They see confidence. And they feel like you're too little to be before them with that much confidence. They feel like you're too weak, or you're not in the same financial bracket as me to be looking in my eyes, speaking as strong as you speaking. You ain't got as much money as I got. That go to some head. That go to some people's head. Now I'm telling you, some people worship their money. That's what protects them. That in their mind, that's their protection. You don't deserve to be talking like you talking. Who are you? He ain't got what we got. You know, you on the outside because they looking at you. They judging you based on worldly statistics. But on the inside, you probably got more than them. You know, so Haman went home bragging to his wife. And this is how I know he married a wife who was just as wicked and treacherous as he was, and he had no good friends around him. Because after he had done explained how he got promoted, highest level in the kingdom, how much money he getting paid and all of that, he said he was upset. He mentioned how Mordecai, this one man, Mordecai, he wouldn't bow to him. So his old no good wife, she gonna say, well, just have 75-foot gallows built and hang him. Kill the man. Kill somebody because they won't bow down to you. They won't bow down to you. You ain't God. And so he did that before he went to that banquet. He took his time and listened to his foolish wife. And when he got to the banquet, with a smile on his face, Esther showed up for her people and told the king everything. The king was so shocked. Then while she told him about the decree, Haman pleading with her for mercy, another one comes up and says, yeah, Haman had gallows built the other night for Mordecai. He gonna hang Mordecai on him. The king said, hang Haman on him. You see? What the enemy meant for harm, God used it for good. The very gallows that he had built to hang Mordecai, he was hung on that. I know my grandma used to say back in the day, if you dig one ditch, baby, you better dig two. And then I hear the, what was it? Harvey and Williams Brothers, when they sing that song, be careful, the trap you set for me just might be for you. And they say, in that song, they say, and if you dig one ditch, you better dig two. because the trap you set for me, it just might be for you. That was Haman's case, you know. So we see where the spirit of Haman, although it caused a lot of chaos, it was self-destructive, you know. Haman, not only did he get hung on his own gallows, but his family and those who advised him to hang them gallows, his wife, they got hung on them same gallows. And then God's people, the kingdom of heaven, God's people, we carry the kingdom of heaven on the inside of us. That is why there can be opposition for just no good reason. It seems like no good reason sometimes, because wherever you go, you carry that kingdom of heaven. You shine that light. And when God's people, the king gave them permission to fight back. Oh, now that sadness went to joy, baby, because they was ready. God's people are a strong people. See, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence. They weren't violent, but they defended themselves. They overcame. They subdued and destroyed their enemies. Since the days of John the Baptist, and we see how history repeats itself, God gave his people the strength to overcome. Not one Jew fell to the demise of those violent ones. Those violent ones. What should have been written since the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence, and the violent should have been tried to take it by force, because they've been trying since the beginning of ages, baby. But God has continuously been giving his people power to overcome and to subdue their adversaries. And so we see the Jews, they fought back and they overcame their enemies. And all that Haman did, it was worthless. And Mordecai ended up being placed in a position of honor. Long overdue honor. So anyway, people of God, I just wanted to share that. What I've constantly seen is that there's always some type of opposition that has to activate faith. And when faith is activated, that is when God moves for his people, which goes back and reminds me of the scripture. Without faith, it's impossible to please God, and the just shall live by faith. Esther went to the king in faith after she activated her people to fast for 3 days, because once Haman had that order issued, Mordecai was grieved, and then he went and got the message to Esther, and she pondered over it, and she said, well, so be it. If I die, I die. She told all her people to fast for 3 days because it wasn't a right custom for her to just pop up on the king or in the king's quarters like that. But she fasted for 3 days, and then she went to meet with the king. And that is when the king, agreed to have dinner. And she wanted to make sure Haman was there, the adversary was there. You see, she handled that so gracefully. God will always be with his people. We just have to press our way through, right? Greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. But that spirit of Haman, it was so furious, so manipulative, prideful, loved power, and wanted Mordecai to bow down. But that one man that wouldn't bow down in the form of idolatry. Just because everybody else doing it, I ain't doing it. I got a God. I know who my God is. How many of you have refused to bow down to certain folk, refused to worship them, and they wanted to destroy you? You have a God that will fight for you. You have a God that will vindicate you. Stand your ground. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. The spirit of Haman is self-destructive. God's people just have to walk by faith. Remember, we are the light of the world. We can't never let our lights grow dark. We got to keep shining bright. And we know that the blood of Jesus is the only blood that has some power. If nobody told you this morning, I'm telling you, your little country bumpkin sister loves you. Stand strong in this earth. Go out and make your mark. Enjoy your day. Sing praises of joy. The joy of the Lord is truly our strength. Have a blessed day.